Way to spend our Thursday afternoon. It's October 15th. That's Mike Edmondson. He is one of the performers coming up in the opening session of the Mid-Columbia Mastersingers. Let me introduce the rest of our folks that we have in the studio today. We have Justin Raffa. Justin, you are the, I know that you're the director, musical director?
Artistic director.
Okay,
yeah,
artistic.
No, they're
close.
Interchangeable terms.
All right. Artistic director for the Mid-Columbia Mastersingers. We also have Nikki Torres in our studio today. Nikki has an interesting background. She's on the Tri-Cities Hispanic Board of Directors,
Hispanic
Chamber, and also works for GISA. So, lots. And you are a narrator in this project.
That's correct.
All right, so an opening concert. Justin, tell us about it.
This is the 8th consecutive season that the Mastersingers have done a project that focuses on celebrating the sizable Latino community that's here in the Tri-Cities. And part of that comes from my own personal experience. Before I moved to Tri-Cities, I lived in southern Arizona. My first teaching job was a small border town on the U.S. side, Bisbee, Arizona. I had a very large Latino community there. Many of my students were equally bilingual or only spoke Spanish. It was a very new experience for me, the East Coaster from outside of Philadelphia moving to the Mexican border. But I learned to love and really celebrate that culture, and when I moved up here I was really delighted to learn of the significant presence of Latinos here in the Tri-Cities.
Okay, so that's kind of a setup for what this opening concert is, but tell me more about it. I mean, it's actually a story. Give me the background of what is this project.
There are two large pieces that we'll be performing, both of which are en español, so the choir was singing all in Spanish. The first piece that will feature Mike Edmondson, who you heard play a moment ago, is called Romancero Gitano, or Gypsy Ballad, Songs of the Gypsies, and it's a work specifically written for chorus and guitar, and it has a lot of Spanish flamenco flavor to the style of the music. And the text is all by arguably the most famous Spanish poet of the 20th century, Federico Garcia Lorca. Some of your listeners may have studied his poetry at some point in schools, a very celebrated poet specifically from Spain. So they're very evocative writings, very colorful, passionate texts. And that comes out really nicely with the addition of the classical guitar, who's playing a lot of those Spanish styles. So that's the opening piece that our audience will hear. On the second half of the program, we're doing a work called Misa de los Inmigrantes, Mass of the Immigrants, which is a work that's written by a living American composer named Henry Mollicone. He lives in California, and in fact, he is flying up here tomorrow for the Northwest premiere of this work. It received its world premiere in California. This is the first time the Pacific Northwest will have a chance to hear it. And this explores some different issues that balance out the Romancero Gitano. It's a traditional Spanish language setting of the Mass. So you have Kyrie, Gloria, Credo. If you've spent any time in the Catholic Church, like my father's family did, and you've been to Mass, the Mass has been around for hundreds of years. So the choir is singing the regular Latin Mass, but in Espanol. And in between the Mass movements, Nikki tells the story of a Mexican family who illegally emigrates to the States in search of a better life. And it tracks the challenges along the way. It describes in great detail how all of that works. It gives you a real glimpse of the struggles that people are dealing with.
Nikki, if you wouldn't mind, do you have your script in front of you?
I do.
Just pick out some random paragraph and read it for us, would you?
Sure.
Mike, why don't you play a little music behind it, would you please?
Sure.
Yeah. We're orchestrating this on the fly. Taking over your artistic position there, Justin.
For most of us, one terrifying border crossing would be one too many. But as my life unfolded in a small old Mexico village, it would become my destiny to survive 2 crossings in my struggle to become a citizen of America.
So is this a political piece?
It's not a political piece, but I think that it tackles an issue that's still very significant even today in 2015. I mean, for me, I lived on the border of Mexico for a number of years, and I saw firsthand how we're dealing with our southern neighbors. And I watched how that changed over the past few years. You know, when I first moved there in 2008, I could freely cross back and forth between borders just by showing my driver's license. And within a few years of living there, now I had to have my passport. So I've watched how our relationship with Mexico has changed, and it's not easy, right? These are difficult, complex issues. So for me as an artist, I want to try to explore these through music and challenge our audience to maybe think about them in different ways. Are we really satisfied with how all of this is working, or is there a better path? So as you hear Nikki's story in the concert, it's very heartbreaking to hear of a family who's simply trying to find a better life for themselves.
And all that they go through, all of the trials and tribulations of this trip. So this is huge, isn't it? I mean, we have guitar music. Do you have other musicians there as well?
Yeah, this piece is orchestrated with a chamber group. So there are flutes, trumpets, percussion, cello, bass, guitar, and accordion. It's the first time I've used an accordion in one of my Mastersingers projects to give that folk South American flavor to the piece.
Okay, and so there's the choir,
That's
the
right.
singers, and they're going to be singing in Spanish.
That's right.
And then the story will be told in English by
Correct.
Nikki. Wow, this is big. This is big. Where is it going to be held at?
That's at St. Joseph's Catholic Church in Kennewick, and opening night is tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
We are ready. We have one final rehearsal this evening. We're actually going to be performing some of the Mass excerpts during the actual Spanish Mass celebration at St. Joseph's Church. So we'll be performing in conjunction with the leadership for the Spanish congregation.
We're going to be giving away some tickets after the program is over. We're going to give them away via our Facebook page. So if you are interested in these tickets, then I suggest that you go, if you haven't liked us on Facebook, News Talk 870 AM, and we'll put up a couple of tickets for folks to be involved in. So you have several performances, right? 3 nights?
There are 3 performances. Friday night at 6:30, Saturday night at 7:30, Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock. 3 opportunities to hear the show.
All right, that's beautiful. I'm going to take a break here. We'll be back. I want to talk more about putting this together and what the audience can expect to enjoy as well. So we'll go to break here with some more Be Serenaded by Mike. To Mike Edmondson, and he was so great. Mike was telling me when he first got here to get himself a babysitter today so that he could take a break from his 2-year-old toddler. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. Mike, thanks so much for joining us today, and he's going to be playing his guitar in the Mid-Columbia Mastersingers season opening concert. It starts October 16th, goes 3 different days, 16th, 17th, and 18th. We also have in the studio with us today Nikki Torres. She's the narrator of the project. Excellent. And we have Justin Raffa, who is the artistic director for Mid-Columbia Mastersingers. And I have to say, Justin, this is a large project. Is this your largest project or not? Or have I just not been familiar with all of your major productions with the Mastersingers?
For this current 15-16 season, this is probably our largest. And we tend to do a larger scale project to open the season. You know, you want a lot of excitement and a lot of activity to get people revved up for what's coming. You know, we're also hired by local symphonies in our region. Those are the biggest projects, but we're simply a participant in that. We're not the producer of those.
I want you to quickly tell me what are some of the other things that you have planned for the season.
Sure. So our next concert program will be in December. It's a holiday-themed program that will feature our Mid-Columbia Boys Choir. This is the second year that we have a choir just for boys in 4th through 7th grade. young boys that still have high treble voices before their voices have changed. And we want to build up an environment where they feel proud, where singing is cool, that singing is indeed a manly thing to do. You know, we lose a lot of boys in singing right around the time that their voices change. And they'll be joined by our brand new women's choir. So we have a third tier of singing groups that the Mastersingers are offering. So our boys and our women will do our holiday program in December. In January, we're featuring a vocal sextet, a group of 6 professional singers from Portland who call themselves The Ensemble, and we'll be doing a collaborative project with them. In February, we're featuring 2 local music educators, Carrie and Jason Rose, who are good friends and colleagues of mine. Jason is a clarinetist, Carrie's a percussionist. So you're going to hear pieces for choir, clarinet, and percussion on that program. We're calling it the Rose Concert in their honor. And then we end the season, we're doing a collaboration with Jordan Chaney's group. Perhaps you've heard of the Urban Poets Society, the literary arts outreach for teenagers and underserved populations. Jordan's done really wonderful work through poetry, and we're going to do a collaborative project with them in April at the hip new Uptown Theater. So a very eclectic, a very different kind of program for the Mastersingers in April.
Wow, okay, so there's a big agenda going on there. Mike, let's turn to you a little bit here, and you are going to be playing the guitar there, and how many different styles will you be playing during this concert?
Oh wow, well the piece consists, it's sort of a song cycle, so there are 7 different songs that it goes through. The specific sort of distinctive styles that it does, there's one movement that is in the style of a seguidilla, which is a Spanish dance. Another that is a tango, which is sort of both European and South American, and there are also very lyrical sections. There's a movement that's called a procession, which is largely a duet between me and a bass soloist. So yeah, that's several different styles. The first movement is very rhapsodic. It's very flowing and again lyrical in nature. So yeah, this piece really runs the gamut. Kind of covers all the bases of Spanish music.
We're going to be well entertained, I think, for that period of time. Is this about 2 hours, Justin?
Both pieces are about 30 minutes. So with intermission, the program, the whole concert's usually about 90 minutes. Is the whole concert-going experience.
Nikki, this seems like a very important project for the Tri-Cities area, for this region, considering that our population is significantly changing. Demographics, there are certainly a lot more Latino people who live here. I hope that the audience, do you feel that the audience is going to be heavily Latino?
Well, I don't know if it'll be heavily Latino, but I would hope that there's a large amount of Latino population there, as well as non-Latino attending, because it is a mass, so, and it's being held at St. Joseph's Chapel. I'm hoping that it will attract anyone and everybody that is interested in music and interested in hearing Mid-Columbia Mastersingers, because they are amazing with anything that they do, as well as anyone familiar with the Mass as well.
So it's a great opportunity to be in St. Joseph's, I think. We've had Father Richard here on the show before, and so it would be really fun to go in and see the church as well. You don't have to be a Catholic to be there, do you?
You don't, no, and this is part of the challenge, because the Mastersingers, we are a nonprofit organization. We don't have a religious connection, but there's lots of sacred music that we perform because of the history of choral music. And if you trace that back hundreds of years, it is coming out of the churches and major cathedrals in Europe. So choral music itself can't completely detached from the sacred. But the piece we're doing, it is a setting of the Mass, but it's not an actual Mass service. It's just utilizing the texts that have been around for centuries and sort of celebrating that concept and the importance of the Mass, the connection of Catholic faith to the Latino community.
So your singers, the folks that have participated in this, had to learn everything in Spanish. That was seems like it would be a big challenge. It
is a big challenge. Even 8 years later, I've made a commitment to doing this kind of project annually. And we're actually doing 2 different flavors of Spanish, if you will. On the piece with Mike, since the composer and the texts are coming from Spain, coming from Europe, we're using the Castilian pronunciation, which uses that, what I refer to as a lisp sound in some of the words. And then on the Mass, we're using Spanish that's more familiar to our local Tri-City audience, who are largely from the country of Mexico. So two different styles of pronunciation. So Spanish speakers, I hope, will recognize that we've made that differentiation to be respectful of the different cultures that it represents. Because Latinos from Spain, Latinos from Mexico, there is some commonality, but there are unique elements that we want to recognize and celebrate.
So in the narration part, will you be speaking over the singing in the background, or those are all separate pieces? We'll hear the singing separately, and then we'll hear the... How does that work?
Well, that's a great question, actually. I will be speaking the narration in between. There will be some piano playing in the background, but for the choir, they will be they will start after I'm done speaking my piece on the narration.
Oh, okay. Well, what I want you to do, I'm sure you're extremely familiar with the script. You probably read it over multiple times. You're a good reader. If you would pick out another piece for us, and we can have Mike play a little bit in the background, we'll get another piece, another flavor of what will be happening in the performance.
Now destitute. Visions of a land of opportunity and hope seem to linger just over the horizon, offering sanctuary. We felt it deep in our souls. In spite of the horrifying stories we'd heard, we knew the time had come to find a coyote, you know, a smuggler, and try our escape to America.
That's very, very. It's going to be a very, very nice production, Justin. You've done well. How much do the tickets cost?
Tickets are $20 in advance, $22 at the door. But this time of year, you can buy the whole season package. We offer a season pass, 5 concerts that can be used in any combination at our subscription concerts throughout the season, and that's $80. So you do the math, that's $16 a ticket. That's the best deal that we offer.
That's great. And Mastersingers, you say, is a non-profit organization.
That's right, 501c3. We were incorporated in 1986, and the majority of our support comes from individual contributions of people who are passionate about our mission and the work that we're doing.
So this is a great opportunity for people in the Tri-Cities to, use their music as kind of a hobby. Music is really taking off here in the Tri-Cities, and I think it has a lot to do with the wine industry. We have more people who are playing. It's a second job, basically. It's almost a hobby that they can play, they can sing. So you're another outlet for that. Most of your people, I'm going to imagine, they have a day job.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. My singers are volunteers. We are a volunteer community choir. We have some, like myself, who are trained, degreed musicians, but that's certainly a small percentage. The majority of my singers have day jobs, have spouses, families, lots of other things going on in their life, but they have a love of singing together, of communal singing, and that they can dedicate the time to prepare these kinds of projects for the community to enjoy.
That's great. Mike Edmondson, if you don't mind, play us out. We are ending our interview here. Certainly have enjoyed it. Really enjoyed talking with Nikki, Justin, and Mike. Mid-Columbia Mastersingers, their season opening concert, October 16th is the first night. Thank you for joining us.
Muchas gracias. Thanks for having us.